Okay, I didn't mean such an abrupt stop to the last video, but talking about my Cheeto eating kid, they see our lawn guy, and that's it. They shut me down when they saw my lawn guy outside our window. So I apologize for the abrupt stop, but it was such a good video. I didn't want to delete it. And I really was going to divide this into two parts because of the milestone ages. So it's perfect. It's not the part I would have divided it at. But anyway, we can continue on from there. The point I was making in the previous thought was that we want to start giving our children control. Now, it doesn't mean that they always take it with graciousness, but as they grow older, you're trying to get them to learn how to speak to you, how you want them to speak to you, how you want them to be. But when they're young, they're not very good at articulating it sometimes. And a lot of it maybe perhaps comes across smart aleck. And two, I want to talk about just one more thing at this stage, which has been my experience also in teaching workshops, and it's been my same experience too with my kids. And what I have learned is that what we do as homeschoolers, whether we have sanctions for our children or not, or punishments or parameters, a lot of it has to do with the way that our parents parented us. And I didn't really fully appreciate that when I first started. And let me explain. For example, one mom was struggling with her son who was absolutely rebellious. There was just no two ways about it. He was disrespectful and rebellious, and there's no two ways to say it. But she really struggled with crushing him. And then you have other moms who just think, oh, I'd get after that kid. I'd tell him something. And it's true. That's easy to say. But what I learned from that was that she grew up with parents that really didn't give her very much praise, that really didn't compliment her. And I'm not talking about valueless comments. I'm not all for praising a child, overly praising them. Everything they do is just wonderful, because it's not. It doesn't prepare them for the real world, and it doesn't give them a true sense of confidence when they do something that's really good. But I am for giving them praise where it's deserved. But apparently she never got it from her parents. It was very much being brought up, if you will, in a tyrant type of household. So she felt like, even though she knew she should be making rules, it still was hard because she felt like she didn't want to do that. She didn't want to parent like that. That's an example she didn't want to follow. And those things, those concepts we have, those preconceived ways, the way that our parents taught us or didn't teach us, our relationship with them, or if we don't have a relationship, it affects this very stage, because this is a stage where kids really start to show who they are, and they start what we call kind of the rebellious stage. And yes, it looks like rebelliousness, but really it's an exercising of their mind, which we want them to do. We don't want them just to be mindless robots and do what everybody tells them. It starts with us. They start questioning us. So we want to teach them how they can do that in a way that's not disrespectful. And if our parents were a tyrant with us and it's not the way we want it to be, and we never got praised for anything, then we might struggle a little bit in this area about how to make guidelines. And then the other hand, do we really need to have such severe and strict guidelines with our teen? You know, our teens, sometimes at this stage, they're not that different from toddlers in some things they do. Let me tell you why. It's because they know how to push our buttons. They really do. And I learned a long time ago that I didn't want to give away my dignity to my teens by hollering, or of course I did. I'm just like anybody else, but I tried hard not to. It really didn't go anywhere. It didn't produce anything. I didn't feel good about myself after I just let go. And it didn't produce any results either. What I learned was that there had to be clear expectations, clear consequences without any arguing. I wasn't soliciting from them what the consequences should be. I just said, here's what I expect. Here's what will happen if you don't. It is that simple at this stage. So that's what I mean. You have the authority still, and you should maintain authority. I hear a lot of parents say, well, you know, my kid's going to have the say to go back to school, or my kid's going to do this, or my kid. And then I ask how old they are, and they're like, well, they're in kindergarten or first grade. And I'm just thinking, there's no way a kid that age has the mental capacity or ability or discernment to know what is best for him or her. And sometimes it's the same thing at this stage. You, as the parent, are the only one to know how mature your child is. Are they want to go back to public school because it's hard? If they stick to it, will homeschool make them be the type of person you want them to be? There's a lot more that happens at these stages. That's why it's so important to learn how to teach. Sometimes the academic or the core subjects have to take a back burner to the relationship. You have to always be thinking of ways, how can we get in the learning to suit them? Okay, and you have to always think, what is my bottom line? For example, with my child that loved to eat Cheetos and drink chocolate milk, I didn't care where he learned. I didn't care if he stood on his head and did his writing. It was fine with me. It's not the way I like to learn, but I'm not him. My job is to guide him to be the best man that he is today, and he really is. I'm so proud of him. Not only is he still that relaxed and fun-loving boy that he was, but he's a beautiful young man and have a great relationship with him. And equally with the other one and the others that want to learn in a more organized way. I just had to learn it wasn't about me. It's not about my feelings. But it's also, they can't walk on me. We don't get to walk on people when we work, when we have relationships with them, or anything else. Children have to learn that. And parenting just, it folds in, it intertwines with homeschooling, particularly at this age. That's why I'm really doing this in two parts, because so much happens. You switch from the skill subjects to making content subjects on the front burner, to making the fun things come first. Geography, history, science, even telling your kids, we'll start off with the fun subjects first for the day. Now, if they struggle and they don't get the skill subjects in for the day, then you may have to reassess. But you tell them, I don't care what subject you start with first, but ta-ta-ta-ta-ta-ta-ta has to be done for the day. Let them do it. And be willing to enforce the consequences. It happened to me a couple of times. I have one hothead. Actually, they all went through hot-headed stages, but I had one that was willing to push me one day. We happened to have a school area that was upstairs in this house that we lived in, a story and a half. And that's where he wanted to do his math. We went up there and we did math. I said, fine, just get it finished. Well, he didn't want to finish his math. He didn't want to do it. He decided that day he wasn't into math. There wasn't anything wrong with him. How do I know? Because I'm his mom. It was all about attitude. He just felt like he didn't want to do it for the day, the little dear. So he wasn't sick, he wasn't a struggle, he just was done with it for the day. It did come down to a power of wills, but I wasn't going to fight there with him on the wills. I just told him, when we have family night tonight and there's ice cream and a movie, you're not being involved. Math has to be done. I don't care if it gets done at 10 o'clock in the morning or 5 o'clock in the evening. Math has to be done. Guess what? Yep, he tried it. He came down for movie night. Guess what? No math done. He thought he was going to get away with it. He was going to wear me out. Nope. That's why it's so hard at these stages. Sometimes you have to pull back from what you're doing to be sure that you're saying, okay, this is not the kind of person I want him to be. It takes 3 times the effort to be the mom in that case, because I had talked about this all the way back in the beginning. Sometimes there's things we're doing that we can't check off on our lesson plan. Check, check, check. Maybe we didn't get a whole lot of school done, but maybe we got a whole lot of life done. And that's twice as hard and mental. Yep, he came down, he got ready to do it, and guess what? It didn't happen. Oh, my goodness. Blow steam, red-faced. I didn't have to be ugly. No hollering. I meant what I said in a calm way without being disrespectful to him or him being disrespectful to me. He wanted to be. I didn't hear any part of it. No, I don't want it. He went upstairs. 10 minutes his math lesson was done. 10 minutes. It was a battle of the wheels. You'll know when it's a battle of the wheels and when it's just they can't. And we can talk about that some more too when you don't know. And signs. There's ways to tell when it's aptitude or attitude. We can talk about that some more too. But the point is, work with them. If they have a crazy schedule they want to come with at this stage and even in high school, and they say, this is what I want to do, and you're like, and you're thinking to yourself, I don't see how that can be done. Let them try. If they don't try when they're underneath the roof and under your house right now, they can't try when they're away from you and living with the roommate and they don't know how to make decisions and they don't know how to plan their day. Let them succeed or fail while they're with you. Failure and consequences is a great teacher. But they really have to have a spicier homeschool at this time. It can't just be grammar, math, and that's it. And remember the key I said, the way you do it, the secret is you take something they like and you put it with something they don't like and you mix it all together. And that's how it makes it tolerable. Remember when they were babies? Sometimes we got to get them to swallow stuff. We put a little sugar with it. It's not any different right now. So you take one of the subjects they don't like and you mix it with something they do like, and that's how you do it. They still get their subjects done, but it's on a subject they're interested in. Fashion merchandising. Maybe you have someone that's interested in fashion merchandising in your house. Sewing. There's so many subjects we can learn through that. Give your children the reins, but say, these are the subjects we have to get in. How are we going to get them in? And another way you can give them the reins, here's some other tips and techniques too, is along these ages too, is where you can also give them a checklist. Checklists are great. Kids want clear expectations. What do I need to get done for the day so I can be done? Okay, now here's something else too. Just because they're done doesn't mean that I allow TV on or device time. They race through it, they're done. Oh, Mom, can I do this? Nope, nope. Okay, they were just letting me know they weren't going to do anything else, but guess what? They weren't turning the TV on or being on their device. What did that turn to? It turned to them actually getting a book, doing a craft, doing board games together, spend other time that's productive. But kids at this age want clear expectations. Check, 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 I'm done. Give them a checklist. This is the time also they can start a little simple lesson student planner of their own. Let them be responsible for it. That's how you shift and you switch from that teacher hat from when they're young up to this time to when they're independent. Now, it doesn't completely happen in this stage. This is a stage where it's the transition. It's going to be hard. It's going to be hard. But if you don't start it here, you don't want to be doing it in high school. You don't want to be telling your little dear, your teen to get out when he's in high school. Get out of the bed. It's time to start school. No, you don't want to be doing that. It's not any fun. So this is where you let them see it's their education, their job to learn. And if you want it to be their job to learn, then work with them. No matter how crazy it sounds, you can always come back to the drawing board if something doesn't work. Okay? So those are other tips and tricks. I have more tips and tricks, but that was the rest of the part that I wanted to finish in this two-part series about the 5th to 7th grade. Next, we're going to go on then to 8th grade to high school.